I thought I was just visiting my estranged uncle after 10 years, but one gut feeling, a chilling whisper, and a hidden room of horrors revealed a family's secret darker than I could ever imagine. What was the scariest, I need to leave now gut feeling that you've ever experienced? In 2005, I visited my estranged uncle and his wife in Oregon. I was on a road trip and thought to say hi to him. I hadn't seen him for 10 years after my whole family cut him off. I remembered him with little memory and a few pictures from my childhood. I never understood why they cut him off, and my parents didn't know I had communication with him. Well, I visited him, and it would be my first time meeting his wife. Since it was late, he suggested I stay for the night and leave in the morning. I agreed, and they had my room prepared already. Looking at their photos, I realized his wife looked very much like his daughter, my cousin, before she went missing. I found it funny in my head, but the more I looked at the photos, the more it gave me chills. I was born right after she went missing, so I know her from a memory and the pictures in their house. His wife had the same birthmark on her neck. I thought to myself, this is impossible. While preparing for dinner, she held me tight and told me to leave when he goes to Walmart and never come back. I was 18 at that time, and I remember the horror in her eyes when she told me to leave. I left and called the police to his house hoping to save her. A few days later, I heard she was gone and that my uncle ended up in prison. My whole family knew about it the whole time. My whole family knew what he was doing to his own daughter, but they just let it happen. Finding this out was devastating, and I couldn't shake the feeling that they could have stopped it. His twisted reasoning was that his daughter looked exactly like his late wife, and he couldn't bear the fact that she had passed away. I felt nothing but disappointed and anger because my cousin was just 9 at that time. Can't imagine the horror she had to go through at such a young age. Only a monster can do that, and only a heartless man. My parents told me it was either my cousin or one of us. I asked what she meant, and she said my uncle tried to kidnap one of his nieces in desperate attempt of replacing his wife. Years went by, but the nightmare lingered. My uncle's house, now abandoned, stood as a dark reminder of everything that happened. One night, I felt compelled to revisit it, hoping to find some closure. As I got closer, the air grew colder, and an eerie silence took over. Inside the house was frozen in time, with dust-covered furniture and old photos still on the walls. I wandered into the basement and found stairs under a drilled carpet leading to a hidden room. The walls were covered with newspaper clippings about missing children. My heart pounded as I realized my uncle was part of something much worse than I'd imagined. The weird thing is that the house is set to be demolished by my family. I reported everything to the police, and they told me they will investigate it since they overlooked that part during the investigation. My parents were notified, and they were disappointed at me for causing more trouble. They were trying to keep the situation low and didn't want to make it bigger. I started by confronting my parents. My mother broke down, admitting my uncle had always been like that. His grief turned dark after he lost his wife, and his daughter, my cousin, happened to look exactly like his past wife. When my cousin went missing, they suspected him, but had no proof. They cut ties with him, trying to protect the rest of us, but they never imagined the horrors he would commit. They found out that he turned her into his wife. Determined to understand my uncle's full depravity, I started investigating his past. I dug up police reports, old newspaper articles, and talked to his former neighbors. The stories were chilling. He was a master manipulator, charming on the outside but hiding sinister intentions. He preyed on vulnerable people, twisting their trust into something dark. One encounter stood out. I tracked down a retired detective who had worked on my cousin's case. He shared disturbing insights, revealing my uncle was a prime suspect in several unsolved disappearances. The evidence was circumstantial, but the pattern was clear. Young girls, all with similar looks of his wife, vanished without a trace. The detective had long suspected my uncle, but couldn't prove it. My investigation led me back to my uncle's house, still abandoned due to people fearing living in that house with a disgusting history. I returned with a friend for support. We searched the basement looking for anything the police might have missed. They cleared out the room under the basement, but again we found a hidden compartment with old videotapes. My heart sank as we played them. They documented my uncle's twisted doings and unspeakable horrors. Among them was my cousin, her fear and pain captured in excruciating detail. We gave the tapes to the police, who reopened the investigation. The new evidence was enough to convict my uncle of multiple murders, ensuring he'd never be free again. But the damage was done. The tapes haunted me, a stark reminder of the evil so close to home. He was once again put into a trial for life in prison. In the aftermath, my family fell apart. My parents abandoned me, and they have left the country. The revelations forced us to confront our collective failure. My parents were consumed with guilt, and our once close-knit family became distant. The weight of our shared history was too much to bear. I threw myself into work trying to escape the memories, but the darkness had left a mark on my soul. I struggled with nightmares and a deep sense of distrust, always looking over my shoulder, fearing my uncle's legacy would continue to haunt me. Years passed, and I slowly rebuilt my life. I sought therapy, trying to deal with the trauma. I found solace in helping others, volunteering at a shelter for abused children, hoping to make a difference. It was my way of honoring my cousin and the other victims, ensuring their suffering wouldn't be forgotten. Update 1. I am now 35 and just recently discovered that my mother was also a victim of my uncle's dark world. The worst part is that she married the man who did it, and I am the product. My father was a close friend of my uncle, and was one of the many who participated in those twisted doings. However, only my uncle was held liable because they carried out their horrors in his home. This revelation has shattered what little remained of my sense of security and understanding. My mother's silent suffering and the horrifying truth about my origins have added layers to the trauma that I thought I was beginning to understand. The realization that my father, whom I once trusted, was part of these unspeakable acts has left me feeling more betrayed and isolated than ever before. I began to question everything. My childhood memories, once cherished, now seemed tainted by the possibility of hidden horrors. I confronted my mother, hoping for answers, but she broke down. Her pain and guilt overwhelming. She revealed that she had been coerced and manipulated, trapped in a cycle. She was forced to marry my father in fear of my grandparents of her being a single mom, but it also meant living with the constant reminder of her trauma. She was also threatened by my uncle to shut her mouth. I don't think I will recover from any of this, but I hope one day I will. Update 2. After the confession of my mom, she unfortunately took her life after my dad divorced her. He found out she told me everything. I never wished to never had born into this family. I hope my mother will find peace.